Hello everyone, Mike Kahn here. I'm going to do a video on the first project for drawing. And the first project for drawing is a drawing that demonstrates variation of line or dynamic line. So the purpose of this project is to teach you how lines can be different thicknesses and have different qualities within a drawing. This is one of the most basic things to understand in the course of a drawing and understanding how to create a dynamic composition. Because when we talk about drawing itself, we can say drawing is the study of line and how lines kind of break up space and create different positive and negative spaces within a composition. So for this project, what you're going to need is a pencil, and there's lots of different types of pencils. There's like 2B pencils and 4Bs. This particular pencil is, I think, a just 2B pencil. There'll usually be a little, kind of gauge on the side. You can get one of those drawing packs if you want to. Here's your standard Dixon HB pencil. You could use something like that as a little eraser at the end. Some of you may use a mechanical pencil. The problem with the mechanical pencil is it doesn't really do too much variation. I think it's better if you use a standard pencil. You'll probably need a pencil sharpener like this. And if you want to have an eraser, that's fine too. And then you're going to need a drawing pad. So for this, I just have a real basic drawing pad. And I think for this class, I said that you had to buy a drawing pad. I didn't put a size though. I want it to be, kind of larger or medium size. I don't want it to be a little tiny mini one, because then you aren't really learning too much. It doesn't have to be gigantic, but it can be just a medium size. And you can get all the materials for this class at Walmart, or you can order them online, or you can go to a supply store like Dick Blick or Michael's or Hobby Lobby. There's lots of different places, and I'm not dictating exactly what type of drawing pad. Any type of drawing pad is fine. Paper does come in different weights, and the thicker weight will look better for your projects, but for a class like this, any type of drawing pad is basically fine, but it has to be clear. It can't be the type that has lines on it, so it just has to be an open drawing pad. So the first thing I want to show you is that when we talk about line, it's important to note that line can be varied. So you might have like a static line, and if I just draw like that, that has a certain quality to it. It's just kind of standard. But if I apply different points of pressure and vary the line and change it, this line right here is much more dynamic than this line. It's thick in one area, it's thin right here, it's a little scattered over here. This is, I would say, a much more interesting line. I'm just talking about the line quality itself. And in master drawings or very good drawings, what you often see is this type of variation of line. And that's what you're going to explore in this project. You're going to create a project, you're going to create a drawing, can be any subject matter, within reason. It's got to be appropriate, but it can be any type of subject matter. It has to fill the whole space that demonstrates some variation of line. So let me show you some past examples that some students have done. So I've got some drawings over here, and some of them will be of people, some of them will be of things. Here's a drawing right here that has this girl, has some kind of animals here, has this kind of weird, crazy background with these bubbles. It's kind of cool. And then you can see the differences of lines here, how this line kind of breaks up the space, and all this was made with cross hatching. And then down here, there's some areas where there's some real intense shadow. And in the hair, you can see where there's some shadow in some other areas. So the way you would go about doing this is, starting with kind of what we call a contour line, which is just the outline of the shape, where you're drawing that out, basing it out, and then start to kind of fill in some of the spaces here. This one has a little bit of a border to it. I want to show this. This is not a project, but it's just kind of a demonstration of different lines. Hopefully it doesn't show up as a mirror here. It might be backwards, depends on how the video is, but you can see some like different types of lines to think about. Thick and thin, very dotted, blotted, curvy, thick, frenzied, straight. And if you want to, you can use a ruler in this, but it's not necessary if you want to kind of play around with the ruler. Okay, here's another example, finished project. This is about the same size as what that sketch pad was. In here, what you can see is how some of these lines were created. Say this one would have been created with a ruler. And back here, you can see contour lines in the hands, and then this kind of cloud in the background. I think this is a good example of all those variations of lines, where some are thick, some are thin, some are varied, some are sketchy, some are controlled, some are a little more free. Okay. So that's a pretty good example, just done with the pencil. Here's another one. This is a kind of a portrait or a fashion design. This may have been taken from a magazine. And in this one, you can see the use of cross-hatching, which is lines that are built up for the value. And it's okay if on some drawings, if there's a little bit of space, like this one doesn't have much in the background, but there's a lot of detail. And I like how this one, you can kind of see the process of what's going on, right? The belt is really dark. There's some darkness here. So this one also gets into a later lesson, which is going to be about value range. And we'll talk about how to create the darkest darks and lightest lights. But on this project, I just want you to think purely about line and outlining and defining shape. Okay, this next one is of a snail. Let me see if I can get this right. Where's the right way here? I think this is how it goes. Maybe I'm wrong. Does it go this way? No. Sorry about that. So here's a snail. So someone found a picture of a snail, and they did, some shadow, but really what we're paying attention to is the very different lines here. So there's some soft lines, some hard lines. The background is left open, which on this project is fine. But you can see how these lines are varied throughout the project. Like here, it's very soft, and here it's been outlined. So one thing you'll find with this drawing is you might do kind of a sketch on the outside, and then you can go back over and kind of start to fill out the shape. The next one I'm going to show you is larger than what you actually want to do, but it does show a lot of different line variation. And it's kind of a weird drawing. This one looks kind of like a surrealist style, but hold it up here, I'll back up. So on this one, you can see lots of different dynamic shapes. This one's kind of an imaginary drawing. It's kind of a collage of like different shapes, right? We can see a horse here, an eyeball, like a woman over here. There's a table, there's a skull. Here's an old man. But what you can see, and this is line variation up here, is the very visceral, or kind of like you can almost touch it, feel it, quality of some of these lines that have been built up and built up. This is a good example of value range too, like I was saying. But your drawing can be a collage or kind of a mixture. So I'm on this project, I'm not going to dictate the style. Style's up to you. And what you draw is up to you, as long as you're kind of playing with the line and playing with the shape. Doesn't have to be this big, but if you want to try something this big, that's fine. But I would say that the appropriate size would be more like this one, which this is a 12 by 18, or even this. I think this is, I think this is 12 by 18 too. This sketch pad that I have here is, what size is it? It's, does say, oh, it's 12 by 18. So a couple of ways about getting started. You can, if you want to, just draw from your mind. If you want to, for this project. In different projects, we'll be looking at stuff or having source imagery, or if you want to find an image, print it out, or use something from your computer or your phone. And I suggest you start with the basic outline. So let's say you're going to draw, like, I don't know, I've got some like fish in my mind. So I'll start by kind of drawing out kind of a crazy little shape here. And I'm just making something up. Right, and so I just started with kind of a basic, kind of goofy outline there, and then I might build up some shapes in the background. So I might think about layering and creating some sort of differentiated spaces, so I can start to break up the space and then start to think about how I want to play around with the variation of lines. So I start with a simple outline, and then what I can do is start to play around with the pressure of the pencil. Now, when you hold a pencil, there's kind of two different ways. There's your writing way, which gives you limited kind of mobility, but there's another way. Often in art school, if you go to a like fancy art school, they'll teach you to hold your pencil like this, right? Kind of like put your fingers over and put your thumb right there. And the reason why is because it helps you with pressure. If you hold a pencil like this, then you're kind of using your arm, and you get a little more downward movement, and you're kind of using the side of the pencil. So I'm going to hold it like that for a second, and then draw out a couple shapes. And what's going to happen is, my lines will automatically become thicker and maybe a little more soft on some different parts here. Right, so there on my drawing, I was holding the pencil like this. I had some downward pressure, and you can see how the line became thicker in some other places. And so I can start to build up some value range. I can start to build up some texture. And I want you to be playful with this drawing too. I don't want you to get limited or to get scared, because one of the things that you need to learn to become a better drawer is not to be scared to be making marks, right? If you make something that's god awful, we'll just crumple it up and throw it away and start over. There's always more paper. But an artist shouldn't be scared of making art, right? If you're sitting there and you're scared to even make little marks, get past that. Just start drawing and go through the process. That's the most, and that's one of the most important things that I can teach you in this class. The only way to become a good drawer is to practice it and do it over and over and over again. So drawing is kind of like a martial art. And what I mean by that is, if you think about martial arts, right? The way you learn is you have someone teaching you how to do it, but you don't get better unless you get out and practice and do it over and over and over and over again. It's the same thing with drawing. I could teach you till I'm blue in the face, but not until you actually get out with the pencil, start making some marks on the paper, do you get better. And each time you'll get more confident with drawing and how to transfer things. So anyway, what I want you to do with this drawing is think about all kinds of different lines and shapes, and play around with creating a drawing that has lots of different variation within it, and try to build it up and create some different layers. What you're going to do once that's done is you're going to take a picture of that and you put it into the Dropbox. I'll create another video and show you the process of creating a picture and putting it into the Dropbox. But get started on this drawing this week. Make a couple different versions or work on one really good finished version. But the line variation project, that's the one that we're working on, and I'll put a suggested due date on the computer on D2L. So okay, if you have any questions, give me an email at conm@iecc.edu, and I'll be making lots more videos about the other projects and general tips about drawing. So thank you and have a good day.